Some of you may be aware that this summer I went to Europe to do some gallivanting.
Kenan is away. Kenan's in Europe right now, gallivanting through the old country. Nick's filling in for Kenan, who's still gallivanting around the world. Nick is here because Kenan is still out on the longest trip in the history of the world, but he'll be back. I don't know. But Kenan has done some gallivanting, and it's a lot of automotive related stuff, and that will be coming up in the Talk Car segment where we talk about cars. But first, we have to talk about cars. Go ahead.
Good call. All right.
While I was in Europe, I went to Monaco, the Principality, bastion of glamour and excess. As a Formula One fan, I walked around the streets taking in the corners that I recognized from the track, but I also did some car spotting. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about the heavy metal that I saw on the streets of Monaco. Now, this video is going to be formatted a little bit differently compared to my other videos in that I'm not actually in Monaco anymore. I'm back at my home in San Diego, but I compiled all of the clips that I took while I was there so that I can talk through them with you and kind of stop periodically and give you some context to what it is we're looking at. So let's start by visiting Casino Square. Yeah, so that's nuts. We start with a white 599 GTO. Now this is kind of before the summer when the cars really took off in value, but seeing one still was like pretty crazy. But in addition to that, if you look in the background as I kind of like pan over, there's an F12 TDF and an 812 Competizione. All of the lightweight, modern, limited edition front engine V12 Ferraris just there, which is insane. You never see those cars kind of one-on-one, but to have them as a group is pretty crazy. But then looking in the background of that even, you see a Chiron, you see an SP2, you see a 12 Cilindri, like there's just stuff everywhere. And that's just what's sitting in Monaco. It's just there at Casino Square. Most of these cars just weren't moving. They were just driven by people who were at the hotel, which is nuts. And to underscore how crazy it gets, here are the next two cars that just randomly came around the corner within 30 seconds of one another. Yep, an Huayra Dino LaFerrari and a Huayra Roadster, just out and about for an evening. Now these cars get spotted around Monaco relatively frequently, but to just turn around and all of a sudden see those cars there is just crazy. It's like shooting fish in a barrel, admittedly because of where you are, but the only other place I can think of that's like that is Monterey during Car Week. Normally Monterey is pretty quiet, but during Car Week, genuinely any car in the world can come around the corner. And that's what Monaco is like just on a random Tuesday afternoon. I thought my mind melted in the first couple minutes that we were there. Just a crazy smattering of cars. I think we can kind of all relate to being the little kid freaking out over cars. That's a future car enthusiast right there. But the reason I'm focusing on the Bentley is that it's unusual that you see older cars in Monaco. It's not that common. Most of the stuff you see is brand new, like the Senna, although it's not a brand new car, it's more in that realm. But to see the Bentley, it's like that was kind of a surprise and kind of a hint that there would be some cooler, interesting old stuff, kind of from Nick and my recession era that would be driving around. But that GTC Supersport is really cool. That one had Russian plates on it, which you see a lot of Russian plates when you're in Monaco. But nonetheless, like I think it's cool to have kind of a mix of cars. It's not all the super brand new hypercar stuff. There's some very much kind of enthusiast-y stuff in there too. Now these cars are a little bit unusual. You see them driving around Monaco and I couldn't figure out what they were initially, but after some research I found out that they're called the Da Vinci Brigittes. They're EV powered, like kind of roadster looking things. They're supposed to be kind of like harkening back to the blower Bentleys and stuff like that. You can rent them I think for like 500 euros a day or something like that. And it's kind of a cool way to get around Monaco. It's very open, the weather is very nice. This one girl, I guess I feel bad for her, she didn't want to be spotted, but like, that's what you're doing. People drive around in exotic cars in Monaco to show off. You're certainly not, exploring the limits of grip, driving around the hairpin at, 8 miles an hour. So flexing is kind of what you do. And these cars they stood out, that's for sure. Like I had never seen one. I thought it was pretty interesting. And then of course, the SLR, just to have an SLR sitting there. This is long before Nick was even considering getting one. It was just cool. You just don't see SLRs very often. And to see one of what I consider to be the holy trinity of that former era, like the SLR, the Courier GT, and the Enzo. Nonetheless, to see one sitting there just parked, so cool. That's my kind of car spotting. Money doesn't buy taste. Damn, now that is special. Like I said, you don't really see many older cars in Monaco. To see an F355 GTS with a 6-speed, red, oh, just perfect. My friend Ryan, who was with me when we did this, we both like looked at each other and went, oh, 355! We just like both lost our minds. We were like truly like kids again. But this car is relatively famous. It's been in a lot of car spotting videos in Monaco with that same plate, 355S. Monaco tags. It's just, this car lives the dream. Just so cool to see an older car like that being out and about and being used. Admittedly, I think the reason you don't see many older cars like this in particular is that you're driving them so slow. These old cars don't like to be driven slowly. They tend to overheat. So like I didn't see, stuff that was really old often, but to have a 355 cross our path, oh my God, so special. So this is kind of the next day, and there's something to point out that there are exotic car dealerships that are dotted all across Monaco that you can go and check out, but really, you don't have to. If you're there, just walking around is sufficient. If you go to Casino Square, go stand at the hairpin, whatever, a lot of exotic cars are gonna drive right past you. Being near the tunnel is a great spot too. But there are some dealers there if you wanted to go in and check out stuff, but I mean, genuinely, so many of the cars are just out driving around. Just get some ice cream, go walk around, you'll have a great time. Now, this is a little bit interesting. You can see we're kind of standing in a weird spot, kind of far back from everything, and that's because while we were in Monaco, there was a security threat at Casino Square. They actually closed down the square and moved everybody out. The police asked people to film, but like, just not enforceable. They were concerned about a backpack that had been abandoned there. So they actually brought in a squad of a guy wearing like a full suit to go in and inspect what it was. He actually put like a rope around it and like walked to the other side of the square and like moved the backpack and then went up and inspected it. It was kind of fascinating to watch, honestly, not something we were expecting to see, but I mean, they cleared everything out of the square and everyone too, in case there was some explosive device or something like that. Kind of a weird thing that I did not expect to experience, and I don't know that it happens all that often in Casino Square, but they take security very seriously there. So it's, I guess, makes sense. There are a lot of very wealthy people there, a lot of expensive cars, and a huge tourist destination. So you got to be really careful. But I thought it was a cool experience to have. Luckily, nothing happened. Serious car. So again, just walking around, like Monaco can be as pretentious or as down to earth as you want it to be. There are crazy luxury stores you can go into, lots of wild hotels and things. But if you're just walking around, occasionally you'll see something very charming, like a Fiat Jolly just kind of parked somewhere. This was near the marina, so somebody had used that to get from their place to their boat, which I think is really cool. And that's exactly what that car is designed for. So you just never know what you're going to see. And that's why I encourage people to like walk around and kind of go explore, because it's cool to see some stuff driving around, but you never know what you're going to see just kind of tucked away in park too. So these cars are pretty interesting. The Ferrari, I'm pretty confident, is a kit car. I think that's a Modena Spider, the same company that made the replicas for Ferris Bueller's Day Off. We've sold a couple of them on Cars and Bids, and they look pretty convincing, but you just tell something wasn't quite right. It just didn't quite feel 100% correct. So that kind of gave me pause there. But the 300 SL, that looked way more correct. People have been making replicas of these cars recently using SLK or Chrysler Crossfire chassis, and they look surprisingly convincing. So this may have been one of those, but nonetheless, even the idea of seeing those cars in Casino Square was just so cool, because at one time those were the hot new cars and people were driving those in Casino Square. So I just thought that was the coolest thing. See, that's the thing. I had zoomed in to shoot that SVJ and all of a sudden, black 918 Spider behind it. That's what happens in Monaco. Like, there's just so much stuff, and there's always somebody with more money in a crazier car that comes around the corner. But some wild stuff. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do in this is I recommend this to everybody. There's a parking garage right by Casino Square that you can go into and park your car. It's actually relatively inexpensive. We were there for like 4 hours, I think, and it cost us €2. That was back then. I don't know what it costs now, but we just kind of went and parked our car down there. Now, it is a labyrinth and it's 1,000,000 degrees. It's really hard to get out of, and it's so hot down there because the heat doesn't really have anywhere to go. There are just so many engines, but there are a lot of crazy cars that are parked down there, and we start with some stuff that was abandoned. It wouldn't be a trip to Monaco without finding an E39 that's been abandoned and debadged, of course. Auto, pre-facelift, bunch of stuff written all over it. Oh. Did you do a restoration on this?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Why wouldn't you? Man, how crazy. What an honest, quiet little car. Now this group is pretty interesting. An E36 M3, love the E36 M3 sedan, such a cool car. Again, not a car you commonly see in Monaco. And then an abandoned Z8. We actually looked, the trunk had been popped and it was just like sitting there kind of dusty, nobody around it, clearly had been there for a while. And then a CLS 63 AMG shooting brake, which is so cool. A car we never got in the United States, so to see one there was wild. But of all the stuff we saw, it's like these are the cars I kind of freak out about the most, and so to have those together, like an old BMW that I love, a BMW from the generation that I love the most, and then something that I've read a lot about but never seen a CLS shooting brake before. Like, as an enthusiast, Ryan and I were both just like geeking. Here's one for Filippo, a Honda E. Never heard of this car in my life, but that's it. It makes the Panda look tiny. Just emphasizes how big cars have gotten, but there's one for Leaps. Yeah, Rolls Royces. There are Rolls Royces everywhere. People really like Rolls Royce there, so it's not unusual to just see kind of a smattering of them lying around. Yeah, how about that for a group of cars? 458 Speciale, a Koenigsegg G-Wagon, and then an 812 Competizione. Well, where else are you just going to see cars like that just parked? Now this car is something special. This is a Lamborghini 350 GT-S. Now a lot of people know of the 350 GT, Lamborghini's first car, but this is even more special. This is the convertible version, of which only 2 were ever constructed. One was finished in gold and the other was finished in black with a green interior, and this is that car. So to see it just sitting there under a cover, mind-blowing. Again, in Monaco, anything can come around the corner. So to see one of 2 really special early Lamborghinis, I mean, just wild. I wanted to pull back the cover so badly, but it's not my car and I didn't want to get in trouble, so I didn't. But man, that was special.
Why did we go into Amelia Island? It's a great question.
Now there's a pair. An Aston Martin Valkyrie and an 04 Phantom. That kind of sums up Monaco. There's some old money there, some brand new money. Could be the same person who owns both cars, who knows? But to see both together, just wild, absolutely wild. Now that is something special. That is a Bugatti Veyron Supersport. Evidently the company only built, I think, 48 of those cars. So to see one is just so uncommon. There's another car where I wanted to pull back the cover, but I am really respectful that these are very expensive cars and it certainly isn't mine. But nonetheless, like, oh, I've always liked that car, that color combination of orange and bare carbon, just so cool. And to have one sitting there, I was losing my mind, truly losing my mind. Rolls-Royces may be very common in Monaco, but on the ultra exotic end of things, Chirons are very common in Monaco. You see them a lot. They're kind of just all over. It makes sense. That's actually a pretty usable car. They're much more easy to live with than the Veyron predecessor, and they are just kind of automatic. You put it in drive and it is a hell of a flex. I mean, most of these cars, they're just kind of there to flex, and I mean, the Chiron is a hell of a flex. Now this is cool. This is a Mercedes S500 Pullman. In the early 2000s, Mercedes-Benz built a limousine version of the W220 S-Class, and this is exactly what that is. It was also, at the time, it was designed to have like kind of an office. It was called, I think it was the AMG multimedia system or something like that, but the idea was that it had these screens on the interior and that you could use the car even while it was turned off for like 30 minutes or something like that to just like get work done as like a giant office. As you can imagine, these cars are very obsolete by today's standards, but to see one parked there, like, that might be the most unusual car I saw of the entire time that I was in Europe, but I flipped out. Just never thought that I would see that car.
And occasionally you get lucky and see something amazing parked in a Monaco garage. There's nothing I'd rather see than an F355 Brognetta. Oh, look at that. My God, what a special car. What a sight to see. That's what you hope you're gonna see when you walk through one of these garages.
And we finish with a Ferrari 355. That's Monaco in a nutshell. There's just a smattering of exotic cars everywhere. And if you want to go there, you can see all of them very easily. That parking garage, like I said, be respectful, but you can just walk in and kind of go up and down and see what's parked in the garages. It's right by the casino, super easy. And then honestly, if you just want to sit on a ledge somewhere with an ice cream or gelato and just watch all of these cars drive by, you can do that too. It doesn't have to cost you a fortune. Monaco is kind of an unusual place. There's this it's just so glamorous and really expensive. You have to wear long pants if you're going to go into any restaurant there, which I kind of appreciate. Admittedly, I liked seeing all of the cars, and seeing the Formula One, the track was just so cool. To go drive around the hairpin was one of the coolest things. To have a drink at Rascas, like the actual restaurant, was really cool. I had a great time when I was there. There are other European cities that I like quite a bit more, but Monaco admittedly is a special and really unique place. And if you have any interest in exotic cars or cars in general, well, I highly encourage you to at least take an afternoon to check it out. It's mind-blowing. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll talk to you very soon. Goodbye.